first heard about Tandi in the spring of last year, before he even set foot on the Mober campus. I knew that he was a basketball recruit who grew up playing soccer. But the basketball part meant nothing to me. All I cared to hear was that he had a background playing soccer in Zimbabwe. It sounds an awful lot like Ghana to me. Over the summer, Mr. McWilliams told Baki, Edward, and me that Tandi was definitely coming to Mober, and he would hopefully slot in as a sweeper in our defense. Baki, Edward, and I took that hope and ran with it. By the end of the summer, we were convinced that we had the next Cristiano Ronaldo coming across the globe to rescue the Mober defense. We even took a pen and paper and formed a preliminary starting 11, with Tandi playing the every quarter role sweeper. To say I was disappointed in Tandi's soccer ability would be an understatement. But believe me, within the first week of preseason, just after Tandi beat me in FIFA, I knew I had met one of my best friends. Tandi probably has the most composure of anyone I know. He understands when to quit, and he understands when to keep pushing. For example, after Tandi beat me in FIFA, he wisely quit the game forever, and has since proclaimed himself the undefeated FIFA champion of the world. Edward might have something to say about that. When the going gets tough, Tandi gets going. He knows what he wants, and he doesn't let anything or anyone get in his way. Interestingly enough, some people find Tandi confusing. Some people even say he speaks in riddles. But truthfully, I've come to realize the confusing part about him is that unlike many other people, Tandi doesn't change himself for anyone. His attitude helps him maintain a calm demeanor because he's constantly expressing himself, not holding anything in. I'm grateful for this trait in Tandi because it's taught me also to live life moment by moment, accepting the things I can't change and changing the things within my control. There have been several times throughout the school year when I haven't lived so patiently, when I have been worried, sad, anxious, or to quote Tandi, feeling some type of way about something. No matter the subject, Tandi's always been there as a listener and role model. He has 3 simple words that define his life and are beginning to define mine. He goes, "You do you." After all, that's all really we can be accountable for. All else is out of our control and not worth the stress that we're all guilty of creating. So with that, Tandi, probably don't have to remind you, but come up here and you do you. How you guys doing tonight? I want to share a little bit about my life story. And I hope that my life will be one from which you may take a lesson or two away. I have been blessed with an extraordinary mother. She has been an example for me since the day I was born. And I feel like she's an example for the world. My mom is a diplomat. A diplomat is a person appointed by state to conduct diplomacy with other countries, and other international organizations. The main functions of diplomats revolve around the representation and the protection of interests of their country. That means when you're the son of a diplomat, you travel around the world a lot. Most people who look at me would never guess that I was born in Italy. I was. On May 30th, 1995, I was born in Rome. I spent 5 years in Italy, and I went to the new school in Rome with my oldest brother. The new school in Rome is an international school, but mostly filled with Italians. I even learned some Italian, via Parlo Italiano. I have very few memories in Italy, but I have a few incredible moments. I remember when I met the Queen of England in the Olympic Stadium with my mother. I remember attending the Vatican Church service of Pope John II. Italy was my home. It was hard to leave. In the year 2000, I moved to my country, Zimbabwe. What a culture shift.
or shock, as you may say. Zimbabwe was nothing like Italy, but I remember thinking, wow, these people look just like me. So it did feel like home. When I arrived at the airport at 5 years old, I met my grandfather for the first time in my life. He taught me many valuable life lessons and became a father figure to me. By the time I was in 6th grade, my mother had been appointed to work at the United Nations in New York City. So we moved. Our move to America was great. I loved my school, friends, and living around New York City. I loved everything except that I missed my grandfather a lot. I thought about him all the time. Mostly I missed him because he had shared experiences with me that he went through, and I would walk away with a life lesson or two, whether I knew it or not. During the time my grandfather was a child, Zimbabwe was colonized by the British. Education until the 1980s was only available for the rich white families. My grandfather always preached the importance of education because he never had the chance to receive one. If there was one thing I needed to do, he would say, was to get an education. My mother is a testament to the importance of education. She grew up in a little village in Zimbabwe called Nyanga. In Nyanga, opportunities are very limited. There, my mom seized the small opportunity she had. She listened to my grandfather. Each and every morning, woke up at about 5 in the morning, fed the family cows, checked the fields, and cooked breakfast because she was the oldest. When this was done, she would walk about 10 miles to school. Through hard work like this, my mom became the first person in my family to receive a full education. My motivation to do well was the inspiration of my grandfather and the willpower of my mother. Even though my life seemed pretty blessed, I really started to lose focus. My freshman and sophomore year in high school, I stopped doing well in school. I stopped focusing on the sport I love. If you don't know, it's basketball. And as a person in general, I was not who I was or who I wanted to be. And then, one night, I received a phone call, which changed my life. It was October 7, 2011. At around 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang in my household. A phone call this time was international because my mom was diplomat. It was bad news. I was sleeping in my bed and I had to get up in about 2 hours. Thinking it was an international call, I rolled over and I tried to go back to sleep. But it was difficult because I had so many thoughts rushing through my head. When I woke back up, my mother was still on the phone, which made me a little concerned. I went downstairs. My mother told me to take a seat, so I sat down. I had a weird feeling in my gut, though. My mother delivered the bad news that my grandfather had passed. I have never felt so empty, so confused, or so lost. When I was a child, my father left me, so my grandfather became what I imagined it would be like to have a dad. And suddenly I felt like my father had passed away. He was gone. When I arrived at school, I battled with one of the hardest days of my life. It was easy for people to know something was wrong because I had tears falling down my face. I knew I needed support from somebody close, so I went to my coach's office. My coach told me about how he dealt with his grandfather's death. His story was simple, but it had a deep meaning. And at the time, I was too immature to understand, perhaps too unwilling to listen. Now I realize that he was trying to tell me that every loss is in itself a life lesson. While it took some time for me to mourn, I believe my passion for life has bounced back and is still growing. Before I was just living, but now I'm living. When times were tough, I used basketball as an outlet. When I was younger, it was something I did because my friends did, but I just wanted to have fun. But later on, it became my daily routine, kind of like a lifestyle, which is helping me perceive the way I look at the world. In basketball, hard work and dedication are key to being successful. I believe this applies to life too. In school and basketball, I hold myself to the same standards. In my family, there have only been 3 people to receive a full education, and God willing, I'm proud to say I'll be the 4th. Through my grandfather's passing and my mother's story and my experiences with basketball, this has been the groundwork that's held my life together. Without basketball and my mother's example, to be honest, I don't know where I'd be today. As I think about the rough period in my grandfather, I've come to realize that he paved the way for my family and for me to receive an education. Even though I did not get to spend a lot of time with him, he continues to be my inspiration. So, what's my point? I guess my point is to share my story with you. If you're from Rome, New York, California, Greenwich, or even Ghana, I think it's important to share your story because that's how we learn and create understanding. I know I've only been a part of this community for about 5 months, but I really do love Millbrook a lot. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to PG here, to bridge my high school and college experiences, and to share a little bit about my life with you guys. And I cannot be more thankful for this opportunity. So as we say in Zimbabwe, Manta Basa. Thank you.